Hello and welcome to another episode of Third and 23. I'm your host Alex, here to talk college football. Here to recap was this week 8 of the college football season. Go over my picks and predictions I made this past Friday. Uh, See how everything turned out. We were coming off a good weekend the Saturday before. We went 4-1-1. We're looking to build on that and get back over 500 on my ATS picks. As you see, my overall record, if you're new to the channel, my overall is just my straight up picks. We've done pretty solid this year on our straight up picks. All right, so let's get into it without further ado. And let's first talk about what happened in Penn State, Ohio State, game of the weekend, game of the day. College game day was out there. Big noon kickoff and all of that. Ohio State came into that game a 4.5-point favorite, right? Now, this is a game that I picked Ohio State. I laid the 4.5. I told you guys I was going to do this ATS game as an ATS game. Ohio State ended up winning this game 20-12. But what happened? All right, so first and foremost, I told you guys about let's talk the Penn State running backs at first. Now, I'm the only one, I guess, out there who talked about Nick Singleton, who talked about Kaytron Allen, where I don't think they're bad players, right? But I didn't see stud freshmen last year. I didn't see it. I saw good freshmen, not studs. I didn't see Saquon Barkley, right? Now, as I said last week, man, I'm gonna give freshmen a year. Give them a year, get acclimated to college, get acclimated to college football, understand the playbook, get bigger, stronger, faster, all of that, right? Get in the weight room. So here we are now, man. This is sophomore year. Sophomore year, I'm expecting Nick Singleton to take off, right? He's a 5-star running back. He should be taking off like that. And he hasn't looked like that this year. I told you guys last week, man, what I see, and I'm not trying to knock him because he could still become something. But as of right now, a year and a half into his career, man, I see Ron Dane, the NFL version, not the Wisconsin version. I see a big back who has no quickness, no speed, no lateral quickness, who just runs into the line of scrimmage over and over. Now, you guys watch the game, you're going to say, man, well, what about those 2 runs he had? He had like 2 runs back to back on one drive in the game. Man, those was wide open holes. Good job by the Penn State O-line. Good job by the Penn State play caller. Caught Ohio State in the wrong defense, and those were wide open plays. Man, Nick Singleton, he didn't do much in this game. The running game didn't do much in this game. They ran for 49 yards in this game. Right? They didn't do anything. So, if you're out there thinking, man, what are you talking about, man? Some of you guys sometimes y'all gotta like get off the high school hype, right? Because what did I tell you? I said, man, there's a guy who does have quickness in that backfield, Trey Potts. And I said, but you know what? Because he's Trey Potts, he's not the big name like Nick Singleton. He's not the bigger name like Kaytron Allen. So he's not going to get the rock like that. But I saw him against Northwestern. I saw Trey Potts at Minnesota. He had quickness or get injured. Transfers to Penn State. I saw him. He's got quickness. But, he's third string, man. They don't give him the ball like that. And I said, watch, they're not going to give him the rock. 0 carries. 0 carries in this game, man. He touched the ball one time. He had a kick return that he ran 29 yards. 0 carries. I mean, so is what it is. Me personally, the best running back on that team is running third string right now. That's just me. I talked to you guys about Drew Allard, man. I said, there's some people who were like believing, I guess, into his hype and all of that. They hadn't watched Penn State play this year, right? They're just looking at the stats. I think his stats were like, man, he had like 12 touchdowns to 0 picks or something like it was something like that, man. He had something like that this season, and yeah, that's what it was. And that's gonna give him some kind of hype. But if you watch the games, if you watch Drew Allard, man, you saw a guy who was slow as hell in the pocket, no mobility. So he's a pocket passer, okay. Man, I don't see zip on that football, man. I didn't see accuracy. I didn't see him throwing darts. I saw this coming. I told you guys on Friday, he can't do it. I saw this coming. Man, this is good. Drew Allard, 18 for 42, 191, one touchdown. 18 for 42. And man, and the yardage and the touchdown, man, that all came when the game was 20-6 late in the fourth quarter. Didn't get it done, man. Didn't get it done. I told you guys the Penn State defense is for real, man. These Penn State defense, fire breathers. That's a national championship level defense they got in Penn State. But they didn't. They weren't gonna have the offense to help them out. And I thought on the other side, I've talked about Kyle McCord. I've said Kyle McCord, man, he has struggles. He has times where he doesn't look confident. But then I said, what I say? I said he's shown glimpses though where there's times that he has looked good. He has looked like he can be something. I don't think that's going to end up happening because we're halfway through the season. Maybe that light's not going to switch on this year, and Ohio State's going to have to keep going with how they're going, right, with Kyle McCord. But next year, man, I don't know, man. Kyle McCord, he might be damn good next year. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing somebody with potential to be damn good next year because he seems he's showing flashes, right? And McCord in this game, he threw for 286 and a touchdown. I mean, against that Penn State pass rush, man, he had his issues, but he was going to have those issues, right? Going against that defense, everybody's going to have issues. But he had his moments in the second half. You guys remember? I mean, he hit Marv in the second half when it was still 10-6. He hits Marv on the little shallow play across the middle. Marv made most of that work. I agree. If you're saying, man, that was mostly Marvin Harrison Jr. Okay, yeah, that was mostly Marvin Harrison Jr. But he made the read, saw him come across shallow middle, hit him. Marv takes it for 28. The next play, he hits Caden Stover. Now this is a downfield pass. He hits Caden Stover for 29. Now, this drive ultimately led to a field goal, giving the 13-6 lead. But if you laid the 4.5 like I did, like I, recommended on Friday, now you're like, okay, now we're covering. Now we got our breathing room because you saw how the Penn State offense couldn't do anything. And that's basically what got you this cover. Penn State or Ohio State ended up winning this game 20-12. You guys remember on Friday, I said this game I could see this game being 17-10 or 20-13. I damn near called a score in this one. So this was a hit. It's a good win for Ohio State. They're probably favored the rest of the way until they play Michigan. Penn State, man, I don't know what they're gonna do. They gotta figure something out because they got exposed at quarterback. They got exposed offensively, really. But really at the quarterback position, they got exposed. So we're going to see what they do moving forward. But with that quarterback play and then the running backs not being on the level that I think that they are, like I don't think they meet the hype that other people hype them up to be. They got to figure something out on that side of the ball. But anyways, since I hit this one, let's go ahead and update both our overall and our against the spread. So look at that. One game in, we back over 500. Let's see if we stay that way. We did stay that way, by the way. So, on to Oklahoma State, West Virginia. It was a game that I did because both teams, had a winning record at the time. It wasn't a weekend full of big games. So this was a good game. West Virginia, they were coming off that Hail Mary loss to Houston, but I mean they beaten Pitt this year. They beat Texas Tech this year. They beat TCU. Oklahoma State had just finished sweeping the state of Kansas. I used to say Oklahoma State stinks. I thought that was a terrible football team, but let me tell you something. I said Oklahoma State, they look like they've turned it around. I told you guys about Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon's been that dude. Total package at running back. Alan Bowman, a quarterback, never been a fan of, but I told you guys he's, what I'm assuming is his final year, he's starting to come along playing better. Oklahoma State defense isn't that great, but going against West Virginia with Garrett Green, who's not a great passer, I thought they'd be able to do enough to win this game on the road And what did and I told you guys, I did this game ATS because I said Oklahoma State money line. Well, Oklahoma State won this game 48-34. And this was a back and forth game. And West Virginia was actually up 24-20, and they muffed the punt. This is in the second half. They muffed the punt where their own player ran into the return man, causing the muff. Oklahoma State gets the ball, short field obviously, sets them up for a touchdown. They take the 27-24 lead. Now West Virginia, still got time to go downfield, but that was just a huge swing in the game, right? West Virginia still has time. They come back downfield, they knot it up, but that was a swing I think that Oklahoma State needed. So then they go back down. They take the 34-27 lead, and eventually they win this game 48-34, and led by Ali. I mean, Ali ran for 282 and 4 touchdowns in this game, man. 282 and 4 touchdowns. He ran him over. Alan Bowman, he actually didn't impress that much at quarterback in this game. He was just kind of dinking out there, kind of just out there, really. Garrett Green, though, like 15 for 30, 249. So, he hit big plays. Garrett Green did. He hit big plays. You can hit big plays against that Oklahoma State secondary, but the 15 for 30 is not going to get it done. And that's what also helped Oklahoma State win this game. Garrett Green can do it on the ground. He ran for over 100 yards. So, I mean, he was keeping him in the game with his legs. And like I said, he did hit some big plays through the air. But at the end of the day, Ali Gordon, too much Ali, and Oklahoma State was able to win that game and get old 3rd and 23. Another dub, both overall record and our ATS. So that puts us at 2-0 for the weekend. Moving on. And here's one where it just stings you, man. It stings me to talk about this Oregon-Washington State game. So, man, when you're in the gambling world, sometimes things happen, right? I talked about last week, or was it the weekend before last, where I said, man, let you guys know, it was on a Friday. What'd I tell you guys? I said, man, I did a two-team parlay that Thursday night for kicks. I had Houston. I had Houston with the +3 against West Virginia. They're down 39-35. Houston hits a Hail Mary. Obviously, last play of the game, wins 41-39, and I cover. And I talk about how sometimes you get burned on stuff like that, right? And sometimes it's good when it just feels good when that stuff works out in your favor. To me, that's kind of a flukish win. That's a flukish one parlay right there. But, a win's a win, right? So, here we go, man. Washington State, Oregon, and we got something that's called a backdoor cover, right? Oregon is favored by 20. And I told you guys I don't like laying that many points. This is the most points I've laid this season, actually, is 20. I've done some games in the teens where I've done really well in those games that I've laid in the teens. I think I only missed on one, just going off memory. But this is the most points I've laid this season, 20, right? I figured that Oregon would have a letdown game from what happened the week before against Washington. Classic game. They lose it at the end. You're going to have a letdown. And I said, if this game was in Pullman, I wouldn't have done this game. I would have taken Oregon to win straight up, but I wouldn't definitely have not done this game against the spread because I figured the letdown was going to last too long, right? So here we go. Oregon has a letdown. Washington State's in this game. Washington State's playing better than they had the past few weeks. Cam Ward is making tons of plays on the scramble drill. He threw for over 400 this game. Yeah, 438, and it's so much off script, scrambling, hitting guys while he was on the move. Oregon's defense, I mean, these guys didn't they didn't show up because they had so many clear shots at him to take him down for sacks, and they just kept whiffing. Bad angles, undisciplined, running in there out of control. And they kept doing it the whole game for the most part. But Washington State wasn't finishing drives. They're kicking field goals while Oregon on the other side. Oregon, after it took a little bit of going, they started to wake up. That ground game, they ran for 250. Bucky and Jordan James both ran for over 100. And that running game was gashing Washington State. And these guys are getting touchdowns. So Oregon's clearly going to win this game. In the second half, you could see it. They're going to win this game. It's 24-16. Then it's 31-16. Then it's 38-16 in the fourth quarter. Late. You laid the 20, man. You're like, okay, I laid the 20. I'm in danger of a backdoor cover. Less than a minute to go. You're up 38-16. Oregon's up 38-16. Washington State still playing. This game's over. There's less than a minute to go. They're still playing. They're throwing passes, hitting passes. They went quick. With like, I don't know what it was. Maybe like 18 seconds left or something like that. 20 seconds left. They score a meaningless touchdown. Oregon, and they got the 2-pointer. Oregon wins this game 38-24. Meaningless to everybody unless you know, 3rd and 23 or anybody who followed my pick for the weekend, because that backdoor cover hurt. That backdoor cover hurt, man. I gotta be honest with you, that one hurt. Like, Oregon just stopped playing defense because they didn't care anymore, and it just gave them a freebie. And that's what happens. And you know, sometimes, man, these backdoor covers, that stuff happens. At the end of the day, you know, what can you do? You gotta eat it, and you gotta move on. So we still hit the game straight up though, so the overall goes up, but the ATS does not go up. Moving on, Tennessee at Alabama. This was a game that I told you guys I didn't want to do, right? I didn't want to lay the 8.5 with Bama. And I didn't want to take the 8.5 with Tennessee. With Tennessee, I thought, well, they're built on the running game, and Bama has stuffed the running game. On the Bama side, I figured Jalen Milroe is going to be running for his life. He's going to be under tons of pressure because Tennessee's got one of the best pass rushes I've seen this season. So I just didn't want to do this game. Check this out. This game, basically, if you were laying that 8.5, and even really just straight up, this game is decided on what I talked about some weeks ago, is what thing you can't predict, the scoop and score, right? So first off, Tennessee actually in this game, they had control in this game early. If you took the 8.5, you were liking what you were seeing. Tennessee, they raced out to a 10-0 lead, got the ball. See, this is the thing. You want to pull off upsets on the road, you got to make plays. Momentum is a huge thing, and you got to keep momentum. These are some plays that I'm going to talk about here that maybe are going to get lost out there in the ether of, like, you know, all the talking heads out there, all the known folks who are, when they talk about this game, when they analyze this game. But these are some crucial moments of this game, I think, that really could have swung things differently. Tennessee's up 10-0 with the ball. They go downfield. They got a chance to score another touchdown to go up 17-0. And on 3rd down, Joe Milton, he misses a throw to an open wide receiver. You got to hit that pass. It was the guy barely touched. I'm not going to say the dude dropped it, because that wasn't a great throw. It was too high for him. Incomplete. They got to kick the field goal. So instead of 17-0, 13-0. Can't do that stuff, right? They kind of seemed to maybe hit a switch with Bama. Bama goes down and scores. It's 13-7. All right, it's 13-7. Here we go again. Tennessee, 4th and 1 from their own territory. They're not doing the, you know, the whatever they're calling it now, the bush push or whatever they're calling it, that everybody does, that QB sneak play. They got Joe Milton in shotgun. They kind of run like a QB power or something like that. Boom, stuff. That was inside their own 40. Momentum, right? Bama's going. So Bama's got great field position. They're going to score. This is all in the first half still, right? Bama throws a pick. Now this is a play. Y'all going to think I'm nitpicking. I'm telling you right now, I'm not nitpicking, but this is a play that it's just, again, we're talking, it's momentum. This would have been a huge play. Jalen Milroe throws a ball into the end zone, tipped, picked off by the DB. The DB picks it off. It looked like his foot touched the chalk, but we don't know for sure because they didn't really look at that because he just took a knee after picking it off. But if you watch the game, if you watching the replay, Jalen Milroe throws that ball, right, and it's picked. The only people that would have been on that side, maybe Jalen Milroe could come and cut him off, but he's going to have blockers in front. The point that I'm making is, why did he take a knee? Why didn't he try to take off down the field? Because anybody with any speed on Bama would have been on the opposite side of the field because the receivers on the opposite side of the field. The only wide out on that side of the field was the one that he threw to, and he's already in the back of the end zone. He's out of the play. So it would have been that DB with, linebackers and D-line, whatever, giving them blocks against maybe Jalen Milroe, maybe the running back, which I think was Jace on the play, and O-lineman. Point I'm making is he probably had a chance for like a 105-yard pick six. You can't see from the camera angle where people are, but if you look before the play, there's no way that there's that many people on Bama's side over there. In fact, I'd be willing to bet there were more volunteers on that side of the field than Bama players. That could have been a 105-yard pick six. That's going to get lost in the ether. Nobody's going to talk about it, right? But damn, dude. That was a mistake in my play, in my opinion. Great job intercepting it. Johnny on the spot on the tip drill. Good stuff. Momentum. Now, Tennessee, you're going to say that didn't matter because Tennessee went down the field and scored a touchdown anyway. They took a 20-7 lead. But, the game, who knows how the game flow would have went if he houses that? Who knows what that does to Bama? Who knows what that does to Jalen Milroe? Who knows what that does to the psyche of these other players? We don't know. So, that's what I'm talking about, momentum. I think Vols had opportunities to make this a better score for them going into halftime. But anyways, they got the 27 lead at halftime. Bama hits a bomb on the opening drive, and it's basically all she wrote. Yet again, the Bama defense shows up in the second half of a football game like they've done many times this year, and they completely shut down the opposition. They completely shut down Tennessee in the second half of this game. Shut them down. Bama's offense continued to press, finally broke through, got some scores, gets the lead. Now it's 27-20 Bama in the fourth quarter, 7 minutes to go. Vols, you still got a shot. And then back to what I started at the top. Scoop and score. Joe Milton doesn't feel the rush, sack, fumble, scooped, oust. Ball game. 34-20 Bama. So if you laid 8.5, congrats. If you took the 8.5 with Tennessee, you got beat by the scoop and score there. You can't predict that kind of stuff. This is a game but again, this is a game that I didn't do for the reasons I stated. I did hit overall though, as I picked Alabama to win straight up. But yeah, those scoop and scores, man. If you did it, I feel sorry for you. If you laid 8.5, congrats. You got one there. Sometimes that's just how it rolls. So moving on, Ole Miss at Auburn. This is another game that I did against the spread. This game I laid the 6. Now, this game didn't go quite as I thought it would. I thought even though Auburn was at home, and you can kind of see Auburn's a different team at home, but they're just not a good team. They're just not. So I thought Ole Miss would whip them. I expected Ole Miss to win this game by double digits, if I'm being honest with you. And it didn't really go like that. SEC road games at night, man. You know what I'm saying? They can be tough. I mean, you can't underrate them. Whatever it is, you can't underrate them. These are college kids at the end of the day, and that stuff, I guess, matters, right? So the final in this game is 28-21. So Ole Miss did cover. It was 28-14. Auburn scored with like under a minute to go. Yeah, kind of a look good touchdown. They did do an onside, but they didn't get it, and that was game. So it was almost a double-digit win like I expected. But even then, even if it was 28-14, this game was a battle. This was a 4-quarter battle. Jackson Dart didn't have the best of games. He only threw for 202 yards, but really was the whole the Ole Miss team, offensively and defensively. 10 penalties for 66 yards. Just all these little ticky-tack penalties they kept getting hit with. Just kind of ruined the flow for the Rebels. Dart also, man, Jackson Dart had a huge, this would have been not a huge play, but I'll say a big chunk play. Probably would have went for like 25, 30 yards on his one pick that he threw. Threw it way behind the guy. Threw it way behind the receiver. Gets picked off. Gets ran back for a good bit. Like, it was just stuff like that going on. I mean, these guys were 2 for 11 on third down. 10 penalties for 66 yards, like I said. Just was not a good, clean football game played by Ole Miss. Auburn, yet again, like I always tell you, they can't pass the ball. Peyton Thorne threw for 100 yards. They can't pass the ball. Jarquez Hunter at running back finally did something. I mean, I like Jarquez Hunter, but he hasn't really done much this year. This game he did. He had like 145 total yards. He had a big running play, home run running play, and a big passing play, or receiving play, I should say. So he had a good game. But this was a game that Ole Miss, I don't think, got their best performance out there. But sometimes, you don't have your best performance, and you go on the road in an SEC night game, and you still win. So give them props. Give Ole Miss props for that, to be able to get that dub. And at the end of the day, man, that's still a cover, right? We still covered. Let's go ahead and update that. And our ATS up to 19 there. So, moving on. So far we're at 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. So we're 3-1 so far. So far we're at a 3-1 weekend. Now, disclaimer, Duke. Now, I told you guys that if Riley Leonard is starting and they say he's 100%, I'm going to take Duke money line. And I film these on Fridays. I film my pick videos on Friday. So I tuned in. They were saying in the morning, they were saying in the afternoon that he's going to suit up, but he's unlikely to play. What I said, if Riley isn't playing and he's not 100%, or if he plays but he's not 100%, I'm taking Florida State, but I'm not going to lay the 14.5 because I thought the defense at Duke could still potentially keep it within 14.5. So I was taking Florida State straight up. And that's what happened. Riley did play. He's not 100%. And despite not being 100%, man, Duke still had a chance to win this game. Duke is up 20-17 in this game. In the second half, late third quarter, up 20-17, and it looked like they're about to go up 27-17. And then Riley Leonard eventually, his leg gave way. He just wasn't healthy. He probably shouldn't have been out there because 3 weeks is only the front end of a high ankle sprain. So they didn't say it re-aggravated it, but I mean, to me, it looked like re-aggravated. Either way, he just wasn't ready to play. And instead of it being 20-17 or 27-17, he goes out. They got the backup Henry Bellin in. They go for him fourth down there. I mean, I understand not kicking a field goal because you're on the road and it's better to go up 2 possessions. They didn't get it. And that was pretty much all she wrote. Florida State ended up scoring on like their next 3 drives and won this game 38-20 because Duke was just going 3 and out after 3 and out. I mean, this game was like why it's so important to have a backup quarterback in college football. And this is one of the reasons why I'm not going to say I hate the portal, but the portal sometimes bothers me. And I know that it doesn't affect Duke either, by the way, because I don't think they had a backup quarterback transfer. I don't think. Can't remember. But if your backup quarterbacks, if they do transfer, you got Henry Beelan, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Like you got somebody like that, taking snaps for you. And I'm not trying to knock him, but to me, the game against NC State, that was all defense. They won by 21. If you're NC State, if you're watching this, you're NC State fan watching this, you should be flat out. If you're an NC State player, you should be flat out embarrassed losing by 3 touchdowns to this quarterback. I'm just saying. I'm gonna call it what it is. He only completed 4 passes. You should be flat out embarrassed you lost that game. He comes into this game, I think he only completed one ball, right, after Riley goes down. He just can't play. He can't play at this level. I think he's a freshman. Is he? I think he's a redshirt freshman, maybe. I'm not sure, but nah, man. It's not. I don't. I don't see it in him. And if Duke has to go with him because Riley can't go, there's a chance Duke's season might just go into the toilet because man, he's not it. He's just not it. And I don't think they're gonna be able to do what they did to NC State week in and week out, right? So Florida State, on Florida State's side, they just about to go down 10 points against Riley, who might be the best QB in ACC. And they get I don't want to call it a bailout, but they catch another break. And Florida State's been catching breaks all year with BC, with the penalties, with Clemson, with the iffy coaching, and the missed field goal at the end of the game. So they keep doing it. But what they also keep doing is they keep getting ran on. Yet again, they gave up like almost 200 yards rushing in this game. You can run all over Florida State. You could pass on them too, in my opinion, but you can run all over them. So we're going to see if that's going to impact them. I got a feeling. I don't know yet who I'm going to pick in the game, but when we get to Miami, Florida State, I got a feeling that it might show up in that game. Because I think the Canes got enough balance that they're going to really cause, and defense, that they can cause Florida State some problems. But dubs are dubs. Florida State wins 38-20. And if you laid the 14.5, you actually covered that too. So I didn't lay it, obviously, but I do hit it overall. As I said, Riley wasn't healthy. So there we go, 49-24. Well, we went away from our 50th. And a win from our 20th ATS. But we didn't get it this week. Because here we go. This was the last ATS game I did. Clemson at Miami, and I laid the 3. What a game. What a job going on out there in Clemson. I've said it before. I think they got to do something. Dabo's got to do something with the coordinators. I don't know if he's going to keep these guys for next season. I wouldn't. I would look for something. I would look for upgrades at both OC and DC. So Clemson had control of this game. They were up 17-7 in the fourth quarter. Despite that, it probably should have been 24-7. Well, it should have been 24-7. In the first quarter, Will Shipley fumbled the ball into the end zone after a long drive. That was been a touchdown, right? So, or fumbled the ball at the goal line. So, Clemson's making mistakes like that in this game. They're going against a backup quarterback, Emory Williams from Miami. Props to him for getting the comeback win in this game. But I'm not going to really give him all the everybody wants to give the QBs love sometimes, and sometimes it's not really earned. I mean, because he was dinking and dunking this whole night. All he was doing was dink, 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 dink. So I'm not going to really give him all that props. I'm going to give it more to the Miami defense, which was really causing Cade Klubnik some issues. I thought there was a regression from Cade Klubnik. I thought he regressed. I still think Cade is going to be good, but I think he really regressed in this game. I think, what did he have? Yeah, I think he got sacked 5 times too, right? Yeah, he got sacked 5 times. He was under a lot of pressure. I give it a lot of props to Miami's defense, man. They were flying around. They made the plays needed to get them back in this game. Yeah, Emory Williams at the end got 10 points in the fourth quarter to send this to overtime. And then he came through an OT, but I think the defense for Miami came through an OT as well, more so than Emory Williams. Because Clemson didn't even score in the second overtime. The final in this one, by the way, was 28-20 Miami. And here we go again with a goofy play calling. I don't know if it was Garrett Riley or Dabo. I'm going to say Garrett Riley because he's the OC. He calls the plays. Cade Klubnik on 4th down in OT, 4th and short. They have Cade Klubnik do some, like, not even a naked boot, more like a sprint out, roll out with nobody to throw to. He's basically a foot race between him and the defender. Cade Klubnik has a little mobility, yeah. who said he's got Lamar Jackson wheels, though? What was that? The play didn't even come close to working. It was a ridiculous play call. And if they score, they still need a 2-point conversion. And anyways, by that point, if they get the 2-pointer, they're at the point where they gotta go. The game is gonna be decided by 2-point conversion. So you would not have covered anyway if Clemson won or not. So Clemson kind of really choked this away in the fourth quarter. Their defense against this freshman quarterback, and then their offense really just didn't play well for 4 quarters. They didn't look good. So Clemson's got some questions to answer. I'd like to see Tyler Van Dyke come back from Miami. I know people are going to hype up this freshman QB, but if you actually watch the game, you realize that this comeback wasn't necessarily because of him. I won't give him a lot of weight in that. But because people sometimes they don't watch tape, they ain't watching film, this is what happens. You get hype when you shouldn't. But anyways, we hit this wrong, so 49-25, and wrong against the spread. And finally, Utah-USC, which was a wild-ass game. If you stayed up and watched this game was crazy. This game was back and forth. Final in this one. Well, before I get to the final, this is what happened in this game. All right. It's had a wild game, but this is a game defined by mistakes. And there's a key stretch in this game. Again, nobody's going to talk about it. You got to look within the numbers, right? Looking at the film, right? A key stretch in the third quarter. 14-14 game. Utah has the ball driving. They get stopped on 3rd and goal, but Bear Alexander gets hit with a personal foul penalty. Bad penalty, dumb penalty. They gave him a fresh set of downs. Utah ends up using that to score a touchdown, 21-14. Next ensuing drive. After Caleb hit this big scramble, Marshawn Lloyd fumbles the ball around midfield, gives Utah good field position, right down the field, touchdown, 28-14, just like that. Huge sequence in this game that's really underrated and really kind of swung things for Utah in this game, despite the fact UC does battle back, but that was just a huge swing, right? Now, Utah later on, they did throw a pick 6, getting USC back in the game. USC ended up taking the lead with 1:45 left, 32-31. On a 3rd down, Utah hits a pass play that's short. It's going to be 4th and 1. Bear Alexander, again, personal foul penalty. Gave Utah 1st down, continue to drive. They eventually get a huge Bryson Barnes scramble to set up a walk-off field goal, 34-32 final. Utah wins. This is a game that I told y'all I didn't want to do because I didn't trust USC against a physical team until I see them beat one. So I wasn't going to do it, but I did say I expected USC to win straight up because these backup quarterbacks for Utah have been unimpressive, and they just haven't been getting it done. So, whiffed on that. Didn't do it ATS, though. But whiffed on that, so we don't get our 50th. We'll have to wait until next week. But in the end of the day, we win 3-2 against the spread. Not bad. Got us back over 500 where we belong. And we'll look to continue to build on this next week. So, if those are my recaps for the games, how I did picks and predictions, not a bad week. If you like the content, please like, follow, subscribe. And I hope you all have a good night. Take care. Oh, and you'll see my YouTube handle here in a few seconds. Take care.